The second method that we could use to estimate the cost of common stock is to use the capital asset pricing model, which we were introduced to and worked with back in Chapter 8, which was risk and return. So the capital asset pricing model, again, is the required rate of return on common stock based on the level of a firm's non-diversifiable risk, and we measure that non-diversifiable risk via beta. So recall that the capital asset pricing model says that the return on common stock should be equal to the risk-free rate, which is basically T-bills in our world, plus beta times the market risk premium. And the market risk premium is made up of the return on the overall market minus the risk-free rate. Solving for a stock's required rate of return then is the second or another way that we can determine what the cost of common stock is for the firm. Now, differences between the capital asset pricing model and the constant growth model. So CAPM considers directly a firm's risk, which is measured by beta, whereas the constant growth model uses the firm's current price as a reflection of expected risk. So once again, the capital asset pricing model considers directly the risk and measures it by the use of beta, whereas the constant growth model uses the firm's current price as a reflection of the expected risk. However, the constant growth model can account for flotation costs by simply adjusting the price variable. And we saw that when we looked at the cost of retained earnings and adjusting that model to reflect the cost of a new stock issue by replacing the price variable with N, which is the expected share price minus flotation costs and underpricing costs. The two methods or models, the constant growth model and the capital asset pricing model, are theoretically equivalent, but in practice or reality, they usually result in different estimates for the cost of capital. We can look at a simple example of how to utilize the capital asset pricing model. And in this example, we'll assume that the current Treasury bill rate is 3%, that the historical overall return on the market is 9%, and that the beta of our firm is 1.3. So again, beta measures the reaction of our firm's share price to the overall market, and by definition, the overall market's beta is 1.0. So this means that our firm reacts more strongly to changes in the market, actually reacts 30% more strongly to the changes in the overall market portfolio. So by applying the capital asset pricing model to this example, we would have a required rate of return for our stock equal to the risk-free rate, which is 3%, plus beta, which is 1.3, times the market risk premium. So the overall return on the market is 9%. The risk-free rate again is 3%. And then that gives us a required rate of return of 10.8%. And this is the required rate of return by investors out in the market. So this is what investors require as a return in order to invest in our stock. So this is likewise what we could use as the estimate for our cost of common stock.